What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again to the power of the internet, and I'm here to ask and answer a very simple question. What the hell is wrong with me? You're about to find out. I recently made you guys a promise that I would continue to talk about my mental health and my physical health and the journey that I'm on when it comes to those things, but try to do it in a way that's not shitty, and hopefully not come across as manipulative or mean or bad in any way. In this case, I found a way that I wanted to express something I've dealt with and show it to you in case you're dealing with it as well. And then I'll show you at the end of the video what I've done to get better. So let me know in the comment section down below if you think this is a good idea. As you're enjoying the video, give me your feedback. I will be reading it. I will be responding to it. Drop a like on the video. And if you want to see more like this, subscribe for the future, because I do plan to make videos like this every so often. Now look, if you've been following me for a while, you probably know that all of this, all of the outwardly trouble, it all really comes down to childhood onset complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a really complicated way of saying I had a really bad childhood, which we've gone into in detail. And this is a great video that shows you how it has affected me and how it could affect you if you experience something similar. So in this video, they show 12 different leading symptoms of what complex PTSD looks like. I'm going to link the video down below. I'm going to react to a good chunk of it here, but I highly recommend you watch the entire thing for yourself. But I want to go through these 12 points and talk about how they've affected me, and maybe we'll figure out if they affect you.
Firstly, a feeling that nothing is safe. Wherever we are, we have an apprehension that something awful is about to happen. We are in a state of hypervigilance. The catastrophe we expect often involves a sudden fall from grace. We will be hauled away from current circumstances and humiliated, perhaps put in prison and denied all access to anything kind or positive.
So that might seem a little bit on the nose right now, considering I'm facing going to prison. Yeah, that's why I decided to make this video, because I got a good laugh out of that one, because the exact thing that I've always been afraid of since I was a child is now my current life state. It's pretty devastating. But this is like one of my major forms of anxiety, is I'm constantly afraid the world's going to fall out from under me. When I was married, I was afraid my marriage was going to end, and it did. I was afraid that I would fall from my point of grace on YouTube, and I did. And now I'm afraid I'm going to jail, and I might. But here's the thing I would tell myself, and I tell myself every day: look at what you survived. You can survive whatever happens next, okay? That's what I would tell you. If you're somebody who deals with these fears and these worries, I know it's difficult to hear it, I know it's difficult to understand it, but look at what you've survived so far. You are strong, you are capable, you can survive anything. So just keep your chin up.
Secondly, we can never relax. This shows up in our body. We're permanently tense or rigid. We have trouble with being touched, perhaps in particular areas of the body. The idea of doing yoga or meditation or breathing exercises, these things aren't just not appealing, they may be positively revolting. We may call them hippie with a sneer. And deeper down, they are, of course, terrifying. Probably our bowels are troubled too. Our anxiety has a direct link to our digestive system.
This one impacts me less and less as I get older. I mean, not the irritable bowel syndrome. That's just gotten worse since the surgery. But when it comes to the ability to relax, it's something I've actually gotten fairly good at. I mean, look at me. But I don't mean just physically stay in one place or just play a video game. I'm talking about getting that mental relaxation, as they mention meditation and things along that lines. That's something I've gotten very good at doing. Getting into my car and driving and just relaxing and letting myself be alone with my thoughts, or playing a video game that has a lot of muscle memory and just a lot of being alone with my thoughts, or sitting in bed with my dog, even trying to meditate, taking a nice long hot bath and trying to meditate and thinking about things and processing things. These are things that used to revolt me. These are things that used to terrify me. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to process. I didn't want to deal with these things. I would do literally anything I could to avoid it. I've gotten better at that, and I highly recommend you do too. It's absurdly healing.
Thirdly, we can't ever really sleep, and we wake up very early, generally in a state of high alarm, as though during rest we've let down our guard and are now in even greater danger than usual.
So you may know this about me, but you may not. My sleep schedule has always just been all over the place. When I was in my 20s, I was a complete insomniac. Eventually, I've gotten into a relatively decent sleep cycle right now where I get 6 to 8 hours a night, which is pretty decent for me. What I end up doing is I go to sleep in bed and I will sleep until my anxiety and my nightmares wake me up, and then I'll transfer to my living room and sit in my recliner and I'll eat a little breakfast and I'll play some video games and then I'll take like a 2 hour nap. And on most days, that'll add up anywhere between 6 hours to 8 hours worth of sleep, which that's amazing for me. I'm really happy about it. If you are like me, you might also get lack of sleep, lack of sleep, lack of sleep until eventually you just are so exhausted you collapse on yourself and you sleep for like 14, 18, 24 hours. That's something I've done in the past. It's something I'm still prone to do. I'll probably keep doing in my future. But if you're having trouble sleeping, that's a pretty big sign that you're dealing with this stuff.
Fourthly, we have deep in ourselves an appalling self-image. We hate who we are. We think we're ugly, monstrous, repulsive. We think we're awful, possibly the most awful person in the world.
I think it's really interesting that there are people out there who think I'm like a self centered narcissist who thinks he's God's gift to everything, when in reality, I openly hate myself. I despise myself. And I think I'm very vocal about that. And mean, obviously, you wouldn't do this to yourself if you didn't hate yourself, much less the trouble that I get in online and the fights that I pick, knowing I'm going to lose them, and just the stupid obsession with idiotic stuff. All of that stems from the fact that I think I deserve all the hate and all the punishment and all the misery in the world, and I openly search it. And if there's not currently a beehive stirred, I will go kick that beehive because the pain feels like home. Now, I've gotten a lot better about that, and I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But yes, this is one of my biggest issues. Something that came up in therapy recently that I want to share with you is I don't allow myself to get help, and I don't help myself because I don't feel I've earned or deserve that help. Yay!
Fifthly, we're often drawn to highly unavailable people. We tell ourselves we hate needy people, but what we really hate are people who might be too available for us. We make a beeline for people who are disengaged, won't want warmth from us, and who might be struggling with their own undiagnosed issues around avoidance.
This is less of a problem with me because I'm not attracted to anybody. I don't want to be around nobody. I just want to be left alone. So, but I threw it in here because you might be afflicted with it. I will say, when somebody is interested in me, somebody does want to be around me, I find that confusing and a little upsetting, and it makes me not want to be around that person because they want to be around me. So I guess there's a little bit something there, but for the most part, I'm not chasing anybody. I'm not attracted to anybody. I want to be left alone.
Sixthly, we are sickened by people who want to be cozy with us. We call these people puppyish, revolting, or desperate.
I do have some trouble with touch, absolutely. But if somebody wants to cuddle me and be cozy with me, I'm actually really into it. It's something that's comfortable for me. Again, I'm confused as to why anybody would ever want to do that with me. But once there's been trust built and I know that I can handle you and I can be around you and I can trust you, then yeah, man, let's cuddle. So that's definitely not me.
Seventh, we are prone to losing our temper very badly, sometimes with other people, more often just with ourselves. We aren't so much angry as very, very worried that everything is about to become very awful again. We are shouting because we're terrified. We look mean. We are, in fact, defenseless.
This is me for sure. I mean, obviously, we talked about the Francis character being 19-year-old Boogie, the guy who would pick up a chair and throw it across the room or punch holes in walls. But fortunately, I got way better at that. And these days, I might get angry once every year. Outwardly. Inwardly, I'm mad all the time. I'm just the angriest person I know. But the good news is I'm never mad at anybody else. I'm only ever mad at me. And I'm constantly mad at me. I don't know what to do with that. But the good news is I don't punch walls anymore. I don't break things anymore. What I do is I punish myself with food. I'll tweet something on social media that gets me in a lot of trouble. That's how I'll punish myself. But no longer breaking expensive things. But if you're still doing that, know that I understand. It's a thing that a lot of people will deal with, but you'll probably outgrow it because I did.
Eighth, We are highly paranoid. It's not that we expect other people will poison us or follow us down the street. We just suspect that other people will be hostile to us and will be looking out for opportunities to crush and humiliate us. We can be mesmerically drawn to examples of this happening on social media, the unkindest and most arbitrary environment which anyone with complex PTSD easily confuses with the whole world, chiefly because it operates like their world, randomly and very meanly.
Want to talk about it being a little bit on the nose again? Yeah, that's woo, that's almost as strong as number one. When I talk about my social anxiety, this is exactly what I am talking about. I am constantly afraid that some drunk religion asshole is going to say something to me, somebody who knows me from the internet is going to be rude and mean to me, that I'm going to get the hell beat out of me, that somebody is going to show up at my front door. Even when I'm with my friends and they're drinking and having fun, I'm afraid a fight's going to break out. They're going to get mad at each other. Someone's going to get mad at me. Someone's going to physically assault me. Constantly afraid of it. Constantly. I've gotten better about it. I force myself to be in those situations anyways so that I can practice and get better and prove to myself that it's not going to happen. And then when it comes to the social media stuff, of course, I fixate on somebody disliking me on social media, in part because I'm paranoid and I don't want it to blow up. I don't want it to become the entire internet, but also because the more I experience that, the more it just feels like home. It feels like normalcy.
Ninth, we find other people so dangerous and worrying that being alone has huge attractions. We might like to go and live under a rock forever. In some moods, we associate bliss with not having to see anyone again, ever.
After my divorce, I spend as much time as I can alone doing absolutely nothing with anybody. Eventually, I do feel a need, a desire to connect with people, so I will eventually go out on a date and it'll end disastrously. I will start a friendship and it will end disastrously. And I fortunately have a few people who are used to my problems, used to my issues. I've been friends for decades, so I can rely on those people to continue to be my friends and be around me in small doses, and then we can take a year-long break and then get back together again in small doses. So that's just how I live my life. But I do genuinely fantasize about never dating again, never being in a relationship again, because they're so hard, and spending the vast majority of my time alone. That's my way of being. I like traveling alone. I like playing games alone. I like sleeping alone. I like being alone, because the alternative is so hard, and it makes me so paranoid and so nervous and so anxious, and just, it's not worth it.
10th, we don't register to ourselves as suicidal, but the truth is that we find living so exhausting and often so unpleasant, we do sometimes long not to have to exist anymore.
So people know I've definitely struggled with desires to delete myself since I was a very young person. And I've had a few attempts to delete myself, but there were backup saves, I guess, is the easiest way to put it for the YouTube algorithm. That said, people have also heard me talk about the fact that knowing one day I will pass, knowing one day this will all be over, it bringing me great comfort. That's 100% how I feel. It's one of the reasons I don't pursue my health as hard as I could. I'm excited to see what happens when I pass. Hopefully it's nothing. Hopefully I just disappear. But maybe there's an afterlife. Maybe it gets better. Maybe it gets easier. Maybe my brain will be healed. I don't know. But it's got to be better. It's got to be better than being locked inside this mental and physical prison that I've built for myself, right? Like, that's how I think most of the time. I'm getting a lot better about it, but that's how I think most of the time still.
11. We can't afford to show much spontaneity. We're rigid about our routines. Everything may need to be exactly so as an attempt to ward off looming chaos. We may clean a lot. Sudden changes of plan can feel indistinguishable from the ultimate downfall we dread.
So this one's probably the one that affects me the least, I think. I'm definitely don't clean a lot. I'm not huge on routine. I mean, I do have certain foods I like to eat on certain days. I have certain shows I like to watch on certain days. I have a daily routine that I like to stick to. But I will just get into a car and drive and do a trip and go visit a friend and do a thing and do a convention and things along that lines. But when something gets canceled, when something falls apart, when something doesn't follow through, that is absolutely devastating to me. That's the one that gets me. So it's more about when one of those dominoes falls, like, hey, we're getting together on Friday. Hey, I can't make it. And that gets canceled, then the entire house crumbles. The entire strip of dominoes, the house of cards, whatever you want to call it, it just all comes apart. And I become unglued. It sucks.
12. In a bid to try to find safety, we may throw ourselves into work, amassing money, fame, honour, prestige. But of course, this never works. The sense of danger and self-disgust is coming from so deep within, we can never reach a sense of safety externally. 1,000,000 people can be cheering, but one jeer will be enough once again to evoke the self-disgust we have left unaddressed inside.
And this final one couldn't be more on the nose. You know me. This is how I ended up building my YouTube career. It's how I ended up doing this. I was working 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks trying to make this happen. And it never really helped, right? Because all these different people liked me and all these different people cared about me. But there's still that subgroup of people that absolutely, utterly despised me. You know, what's interesting, though, is now that that script is flipped and there's less of you that enjoy my content and less of you that like me than people who openly dislike me, I'm finally able to concentrate on you. It's not a great way to solve the problem, but hey, at least it solved it. Now, the video goes on to explain something that I've been saying for a long time to myself and to you as well, is that we have to learn to love ourselves enough to take the time to process the trauma that we went through and learn to recognize that we were put into a bad situation and we did the best that we could given that bad situation. That's not something that's easy to do. It's something I have failed to do up till now. I'm getting a little bit better about it, but it's something I'm still trying to do every day, to learn to forgive myself, to learn to see myself as that scarred, broken, bruised little child, and understand that I'm still that person mentally and emotionally, and I need to allow myself to grow. I mean, not weight-wise. I allowed myself to grow that way quite a bit. This has been an exceptionally long video, and I didn't expect it to be, but now that it's been this long, if you've made it all the way to the end, let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to actually watch this video. It's got some great advice for you in there, and if you're dealing with these types of issues, let me know in the comments section below as well. I hope this offers a little bit of insight about the kind of person that I am without coming across as too poor pity me or anything along that lines. I just like to share how my brain works in a way that hopefully you guys can understand how I got myself into the trouble I've gotten myself into over the years. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I will speak with you again soon. 3 videos in 3 days. Good Lord, what am I, a YouTuber?